chain. We adore thee, whom all men love, spotless, taking man's form. O purifier, thou art above the gunas three, knowledge divine, not flesh. Thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. Let us look deep in thine eyes. They are bright with the wisdom of God, that can wake us from Maya's spell. Let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. O drunk with love, God drunken lover, in thee all paths of all yogas meet. Lord of the worlds, thou art ours, who wert born a child of our time, easy of access to us. O merciful, if we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone, since all thine austerities were practiced for our sake. How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. Perfect, whom lust could not taint, nor passion nor gold draw near. O Master of all who renounce, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. Without question thou shelterest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills the hoofprint in the clay. Speech cannot hold thee, nor mind, yet without thee we think not, nor speak. Love, who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight. Take her away of our pain, we salute thee, though we are blind. Come to the heart's black cave, and illumine, thou light of the light.
So today is Swami Niranjananandaji's birthday. So we are reading from some part from the book that God lived with them. Eh, They lived with God by Swami Chetananandaji. Niranjan, Nitya Niranjan Ghosh, was later became Swami Niranjanananda, was born in 1862, probably in August, at Rajarhat, Bishnupur, a few miles from Calcutta. His father's name was Ambika Charan Ghosh. Niranjan was tall and handsome, endowed with a broad chest and beautiful bright eyes. He had strong, energetic, and athletic physique. His nature was fearless and heroic. In his childhood, he was fond of playing with bow and arrows like the great heroes of the Hindu epics. He had uh, uh, passion for truth and deep compassion for the poor. Niranjan's mind was as powerful as his body. He had developed psychic powers that enabled him to cure illness. Once a wealthy man of Calcutta who had suffered from insomnia for 18 years sought Niranjan's help. The compassionate Niranjan used his miraculous power to cure the man. Later he said, finding the man suffering so much in spite of all his riches and wealth, I was seized with a feeling of the emptiness of all worldly things. When Niranjan was in his teens, he was sent to his uncle's house in Calcutta for higher education. There he was attracted by the group of spiritualists headed by his uncle, Pyari Chand Mitra. In the early part of 1882, a group of spiritualists from Calcutta heard about Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual power and thinking it would be considerable achievement to influence Sri Ramakrishna, they went to the Dakshineshwar temple garden to test him. They were told that Sri Ramakrishna had gone for an evening walk to Jadu Mallik's garden house nearby. When they reached Jodu's drawing room and met Sri Ramakrishna, Pyari Chand, the leader of the group, introduced himself and others, including Niranjan, as spiritualists. Ramakrishna had the power to see inside a person as one sees an object inside a glass case. As soon as he saw Niranjan, he remarked, this boy is very good, extremely guileless. Immediately Pyari Chand said, Sir, he is my nephew. He can mesmerize very well. He is a wonderful medium. Shame, shame. Don't get involved in such spooky business, retorted the master. Despite this, the spiritualists expressed a desire to use their power to mesmerize Sri Ramakrishna. The childlike master agreed, regarding this as a mere amusement. Moreover, he wished to humble them. Sri Ramakrishna sat on a chair, and three spiritualists, including Niranjan and his uncle, began to wave their hands about him. The master observed their ritual and smiled from time to time. After trying hard for an hour, Pyari Chand said, Sir, you are a great soul with a strong mind. We are incapable of mesmerizing you. Then the master got up and said privately to Niranjan, Come here often. One evening, soon after Niranjan had met the master, he went to Dakshineshwar to see him. He found Sri Ramakrishna in his room, surrounded by devotees. The master was talking about God and how to realize him. The devotees were spellbound. When all the devotees had left for home, the master approached Niranjan and expressed his joy seeing him again. They talked freely for some time. Then the master said, My boy, if you allow your mind to dwell on ghosts, you will become a ghost yourself. If you fix your mind on God, your life will be filled with God. Now, which of these are you going to choose? Well, of course, the latter, replied Niranjan. Ramakrishna advised him to sever his connection with the spiritualists, and Niranjan agreed to this. The master gave some more advice to him, and as it was getting dark, Niranjan returned Calcutta, but his mind remained in Dakshineshwar. Within 2 or 3 days, he returned to Dakshineshwar. The master was filled with joy at seeing him. He rushed to Niranjan and, grasping his arms, exclaimed, "Oh Niranjan, my boy, the days are fleeting away. When will you realize God? This life will be in vain if you don't realize Him. When will you devote your mind wholly to God? Oh, how anxious I am for you." Niranjan was dumbfounded. What a strange man is this, he thought. Why he is so concerned about my spiritual welfare? Ramakrishna recognized Niranjan as one of his inner circle, an Isharakoti, a godlike soul who is perfect from his very birth and is never trapped by Maya. Once in a vision, Ramakrishna saw luminous form of Niranjan playing with a bow and arrows. Later, he remarked that Niranjan had been born as a partial incarnation of Ramachandra. Niranjan was initiated by the master with a mantram. He later described this experience. "I was then working in an office. One day, I went to visit Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar. He wrote a mantram on my tongue and asked me to repeat it. What an experience! After returning home, even when my eyes were closed, I began to see innumerable fireflies in my room. The mantram was vibrating in my head and in my every limb of my body. I wanted to sleep, but I could not stop the repetition of japam. I had previously been unaware of this phenomenon. I but I could not stop repetition japam and became scared and thought I would go out of my mind. After 3 days, I returned to Dakshineshwar and said to the master, 'Sir, what have you done to me?' After listening to my story, he laughed and withdrew the power of the mantram. Then he said, 'It is called Ajapa Japam.' At one time, Niranjan was compelled to accept a job in Murshidabad, more than 100 miles away north of Calcutta. Ramakrishna was aggrieved when he heard of this. A few days later, when he saw Niranjan, he learned that he had to accept the job to maintain his aged mother. With a sigh of relief, the master told Niranjan, then it is all right. It won't contaminate your mind. But I tell you, if you had done so for your own sake, I could not have touched you. Really, it was unthinkable that you would stoop to so much humiliation. Didn't I know that my Niranjan had not that least trace of impurity in him? One day, while sitting in his room at Dakshineshwar, Ramakrishna was chanting the names of gods and goddesses, aim recorded in the Gospel. Then he repeated Alekha Niranjan, which is the name of God. Saying Niranjan, he wept. The devotees wept too. With tears in his eyes, the master said, "Oh Niranjan, my child, come, eat this, take this. When shall I make my life blessed by feeding you? You have assumed this human form for my sake." Perhaps this sincere call of the master reached Niranjan. He resigned from his job and came to visit the master. Niranjan was habitually good-natured, but he had a violent temper. One day, when he was coming to Dakshineshwar on the public ferry, he overheard some of the other passengers were wrongly criticizing Sri Ramakrishna. Niranjan protested strongly, but the speakers ignored him. At this, Niranjan became enraged, jumped to his feet, and began to rock the boat, threatening to capsize it in the midstream. Niranjan was a powerful swimmer. He could easily have swum ashore after carrying out his threat. The passengers were frightened and they begged to be forgiven. When Ramakrishna heard about this incident, he rebuked Niranjan severely. "Anger is a deadly sin," he said. "You ought never to let it carry you away. The seeming anger of a good man is something different. It's no more than a mark made on water. it vanishes as soon as it's made. As for those mean minded people who talked against me, they were not worth getting into a quarrel with. You could waste your whole life in such quarreling. Think of them as being no more than insects. Be indifferent to that, what they say. See, what a great crime you were about to commit under the influence of this anger. Think of the poor helmsman and the oarsman in the boat. You were ready to drown them too. They had done nothing. Ramakrishna kept close watch over the disciples' eating, sleeping, day to day behavior. Since only a good student can be a good teacher, the master uncompromisingly trained his inner circle disciples so they could become great spiritual teachers. Self control and truthfulness are indispensable to spiritual life. Once, on seeing Niranjan take too much ghee, which was believed to create lust, the master exclaimed, "My goodness, you take so much ghee. Are you eventually going to abduct people's daughters and wives?" Another day, the master said to a devotee, pointing to Niranjan, "Look at this boy. He is absolutely guileless, but he has one fault. He is slightly untruthful nowadays. The other day he said that he would visit me again very soon, but he didn't come." Hearing this, Niranjan immediately apologized. In September 1885, Sri Ramakrishna had to move to Shampukur House in Calcutta for his cancer treatment. Niranjan left home and became the master's gatekeeper, as he was strong and heroic by nature. Following his doctor's advice, Ramakrishna moved from smoky environment of Shampukur to a garden house in Kashipur in December 1885. Kashipur was not very far from the Ganges. The master was quite happy despite his terminal cancer. On the morning of 23rd December, Ramakrishna gave unrestrained expression of his love for the devotees. He said to Niranjan, "You are my father, I shall sit on your lap." By living with the master, the devotees' own love and devotion also grew by leaps and bounds. Once Niranjan went back home for a visit. When he returned, the master said, "Please tell me how you feel." Niranjan replied, "Formerly I loved you, no doubt, but now it is impossible for me to live without you." Then the masters explained to him, "This illness is showing who belongs to the inner circle, who to the outer. Those who are living here, renouncing the world, belong to the inner circle, and those who pay occasional visit and ask, 'How are you, sir?' belong to the outer circle." The young disciples took turns around the clock serving the master. Moreover, they were practicing spiritual disciplines according to his instruction. They renounced hearth and home and surrendered themselves to Sri Ramakrishna. After he had been at Kashipur 3 or 4 months, Ramakrishna's body became so emaciated that it was hard to recognize him. But his devotees still hoped that he would free himself from the cancer. During this time, the master told Niranjan, "Look, I am now in such a state that whoever sees me in this condition will attain liberation in this life by the grace of Divine Mother. But know for certain that it will shorten my life." Upon hearing this from the master, Niranjan became more vigilant about his guard duty. He sat at the gate day and night with a turban on his head and a stick in his hand to keep outsiders from visiting the master. Niranjan sometimes had to hurt people, but he accepted this as an unpleasant duty necessary to protect the master's life. Once Atul Ghosh, Girish Ghosh's brother, came to visit the master and was stopped by Niranjan. Atul was very heart-picked. He took a vow that he would not visit Ramakrishna again unless someone personally came to his house and took him there. One day the master asked Niranjan, "Go to Atul's house and bring him to check his health." Atul, though not a doctor, knew how to check the pulse and evaluate the condition of a disease. Immediately, Niranjan rushed to Atul and brought him to the master. Even while the master was sick, was training his devotees, sometimes humbling one and sometimes increasing longing in another. During the winter, Ramakrishna would bathe with hot water. One day, Niranjan used a lot of firewood to heat a large vessel of water. That waste displeased the master, but Niranjan was stubborn. He carried the whole vessel of water to the master and said, "Sir, I don't have enough sense to know how much water you need. Since I have brought it, you will have to use it." The master was pleased by Niranjan's simple and fearless behavior. It is hard for a lover to watch suffering of the beloved. While serving the master, Niranjan often worried about him. The master read his mind and one day asked him, "Niranjan, if I were to cure of this disease, what would you do?" With great excitement, Niranjan replied, "Master, I would uproot the dead palm tree from the garden." Knowing his heroic nature and his overwhelming love and devotion, the master remarked, "Yes, you could do that." From his birth, Niranjan has been endowed with divine qualities: simplicity, purity, fearlessness, steadiness, truthfulness, and renunciation. When the elder Gopal bought 12 pieces of ochre cloth and 12 rosaries, the master gave one of them to Niranjan. Sri Ramakrishna passed away on 16 August 1886. In December 1886, Niranjan, Narendra, and several other brother disciples went to Atpur. There they took the vows of renunciation in front of a sacred fire, not knowing that it was Christmas Eve. In the early part of 1887, Niranjan joined Baranagar Monastery and took the final vows of sannyasa with his brother disciples. Vivekananda gave him the name Swami Niranjanananda. He continued his spiritual disciplines and austerities in the monastery. He also helped perform the worship service and did most of the laborious work. One day he was carrying some sweets from the market for the master's offering. A poor woman holding his little boy in her arms was walking in the same direction. Seeing the package of sweets in Niranjanananda's hand, the boy cried out, "Mother, I want to eat sweets." The more she tried to control her son, the more he cried. Niranjanananda gracefully went to the young boy and placed the packet before him and said, "Please eat these sweets." The poor mother protested, "Father, no, you are carrying these sweets for the Lord. It would be inauspicious if my son were to eat them." Niranjanananda replied, "No, mother, it would be all right. His eating would be the same as the Lord's eating." Handing the packet to the boy, Niranjanananda returned to the market to buy fresh sweets for the master. After taking the vows of sannyasa, Niranjanananda went to Puri on a pilgrimage and returned to Baranagar Monastery on 8 April 1887. The monastery was in very poor condition. They did not have a suitable altar in the master's shrine or accessories for worship. Niranjanananda had heard about an aged but expert carpenter in Calcutta and had him make a beautiful altar for the master. With the help of devotees, Niranjanananda gradually collected a bed for the master, utensils, and a Japanese gong for vespers. Niranjanananda planted a bel tree on the spot where the master's body had been cremated at the bank of the Ganges and made a marble altar around the tree. Niranjanananda nursed Yogananda when he was suffering from smallpox in Allahabad. He served Latu Maharaj when he had pneumonia and when he and helped both Balaram Basu and Ram Datta up to the time of their deaths. When Girish was passing through the period of depression, Niranjanananda took him to Holy Mother, who lifted his spirits. In 1888, Holy Mother was living alone at Kamarpukur. Harish, a devotee of the Master, who was mentally ill, went there and began to disrupt her peace. Holy Mother subsequently complained to the monks at the Baranagar, and both Niranjanananda and Sharadananda rushed to Kamarpukur. As soon as Niranjanananda arrived, Harish became so frightened that he hurried off to Vrindavan. In November 1889, Niranjanananda left the monastery on a pilgrimage to practice further austerities. He first went to visit the temple of Lord Shiva in Deoghar and then proceeded to Varanasi. After that, went to Prayag at the confluence of Ganga and the Jamuna rivers. He traveled throughout the various parts of India and then went to Sri Lanka. Swamiji was impressed with Niranjanananda's preaching mission in Sri Lanka. Wherever he went, he would talk about the wonderful life and message of Ramakrishna. When he was in Raipur, an army officer named Suraj Rao met him and was greatly inspired. Suraj later resigned from his job and became a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. Afterwards, he became known as Swami Nishchayananda. In 1895, before Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, Niranjanananda returned to the monastery, which had been by then moved from Baranagar to Alambazar. Vivekananda returned to India from the west in early 1897. Niranjanananda left for Colombo and received Swamiji there. Afterwards, he travelled with Swamiji all across South India as well as in various parts of North India. In 1898, Niranjanananda went with Swamiji to Almora, then remained there in order to practice further spiritual disciplines. Sudhir, an initiated disciple of Swamiji, joined them. Sudhir was greatly inspired by Niranjanananda, who initiated him into sannyasa in 1898. Sudhir became Swami Shuddhananda. He and Niranjanananda then went to Varanasi and continued their austerities. In Varanasi, Niranjanananda encouraged a group of young men to enter spiritual life and to practice the ideal of service. In 1899, a group observed Sri Ramakrishna's birthday celebration under his guidance. Niranjanananda inspired them to sacrifice their lives for the good of many and the welfare of all. This group later founded Ramakrishna Mission Home of Service, and some of them received their monastic vows directly from Vivekananda. After staying a few months at Varanasi, Niranjanananda went to Konkan at the foothills of the Himalayas. When Niranjanananda was in Konkan, a young man from Varanasi named Kedarnath expressed his desire to become a monk. At first, Swami discouraged him, saying that the life of a monk is very difficult. When Kedarnath's heart was burning with the fire of renunciation, with Niranjanananda's permission, he went to Konkan in August 1899. Niranjanananda received him cordially, taking him to a dilapidated house where he was living. The next day, Niranjanananda gave him an ochre cloth and asked him to repeat the name of Sri Ramakrishna. He taught Kedarnath the basic rule of monastic life. One must live on alms, without possessions, depending on God alone. Kedarnath became Swami Achalananda. After some time, Niranjanananda became ill and left for Calcutta. A couple of months later, he wrote to Achalananda, "My physical condition is extremely bad. It would be nice if you would come and give me a little personal service." He immediately went to Calcutta and to attend Niranjanananda, who was then living in a rented house. Swami Brahmananda and other brother monks arranged for his treatment and diet. It was a prolonged illness, and at one point he was close to death. Niranjanananda was later moved to another location where a devotee provided all of his food and paid his medical expenses. And unfortunately, Achalananda also became ill and had to go first to Belur Math and then to Varanasi. Then Swami Premananda went to nurse Niranjanananda and he slowly recovered. Niranjanananda left no Niranjanananda left no writings or any recorded reminiscences, but Swami Achalananda described some of the important characteristics of Niranjanananda's life. From Achalananda's writing, Swami Niranjanananda believed that Sri Ramakrishna was the infinite God incarnated in human form. He who took refuge in him would not have to worry in his life. He believed one should sincerely serve the Master, thinking of him as a living, conscious being and our very own. This is the supreme worship. The Swami did not put too much stress on ritual and mantras. He had tremendous faith in the doctrine of service as established by Swami Vivekananda, and he encouraged people to serve human beings as manifestations of God. He was extremely generous. Without any misgivings, he would take care of anyone who asked for help from him. Vivekananda went to the West again in June 1899 and returned to India in December 1900. Niranjanananda was delighted to be with Swamiji once more. In January 1902, Swamiji visited Varanasi, where Niranjanananda was then residing. In the later part of February, when Swamiji became gravely ill, Niranjanananda and Shivananda escorted him to Belur Math. On Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, Niranjanananda became Swamiji's gatekeeper in order to prevent the general public from disturbing him. Niranjanananda's character was a mixture of tenderness and sternness. He was a man of truth and wanted others also to adhere to the truth. He did not care for people who did not keep their word. He was an unattached monk, and his love for truth was uncompromising. Once a rich man of Calcutta built a Shiva temple in Varanasi to acquire merit. When Vivekananda heard about it, he remarked if he would do something to relieve the suffering of the poor, then he would acquire the merit of building of 1,000 such temples. When Swamiji's statement reached this man, he offered generous donation to Ramakrishna Mission Home of Service at Varanasi, in a nuclear state at that time. But later, as the rich man's initial enthusiasm waned, he decided to reduce the sum he had originally offered. This breach of promise so offended Niranjanananda's regard for truth that he rejected the offer altogether, even though he knew it would cause great hardship for the institution. Niranjanananda's devotion to Holy Mother was indeed remarkable. Swami Vivekananda used to say, Niranjan had a militant disposition, but he has great devotion for Mother, so I can easily put up with all his vagaries. In those early days, Holy Mother's divinity was not widely acknowledged. Even Girish, a great devotee of the Mother, confessed his doubt about it. Because he had practiced such hard austerity, Niranjanananda's health began to fail. During the last few years of his life, he suffered from dysentery. The climate and water of Haridwar was better than those in Belur Math. So he decided to move there and went to Holy Mother to receive her blessings. This last meeting was deeply moving as Niranjanananda's pent-up devotion for Holy Mother suddenly found expression. No one understood the cause. Perhaps he had a premonition that he would not live long. He insisted that Holy Mother do everything for him. He entreated her to cook for him and then feed him as a mother feeds her young child. Holy Mother fulfilled his wishes. Before leaving, he fell at her feet and burst into tears. Then he silently went away, knowing that he would never see her again. At Haridwar, he lived in a rented house and continued his sadhana. His chronic dysentery was inexorably emaciating his body, but it could not stifle his renunciation. Sri Ramakrishna had enkindled his spirit when Niranjanananda was just in his teens and it continued to shine brightly throughout the remainder of his life. Towards the end, he was stricken with cholera. Like a hero, he took shelter on the bank of the Ganges and surrendered himself to God. When his attendant offered to serve him, Niranjanananda declined. When the attendant nevertheless insisted, he said, "Don't you want me to die in peace?" Then the attendant reluctantly departed. Swami Niranjanananda, a heroic monk of Sri Ramakrishna, passed away in Samadhi on 9th May 1904. Om Shanti 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 Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.